You're looking live in period 1. This is chapter 3, check-in solutions video with me, Mr. Goldman. Standard 1. Rewrite the following expressions as addition expressions. Whew. I don't change the first number, so I'm going to leave the -6. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. -6 plus 2, the answer is -4. -9 minus 9. I do not change the first number. -9 subtracting a positive is the same as adding a negative. 9 negatives plus 9 more negatives is 18 negatives. This was a tricky one. 5 minus 3. Don't change the first number. Subtracting a positive, same as adding a negative. Believe it or not, 5 minus 3 is 2. I know. This was actually tricky. -6 minus -3 minus 5. So I don't change the first number. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. Now, here is where so many of you are not going to meet this standard. Just wrote -5. So many people did that. You have to write the whole thing as an addition expression because you need to, if I wanted to change the order of this, I couldn't right now. But if I write it as plus -5, now I can start using the commutative and associative properties, right? So now I would rewrite this as -6 plus -5 plus 3. I want to group my negatives together. So it's 11 negatives plus 3 positives is 8 negatives. There you go. That was the big one. And also a lot of people didn't rewrite this. And side note, it was very funny how many people missed 5 minus 3 on a 7th grade math test. But it's tricky when you start throwing negatives in there. I understand. It gets tricky. All right, simplify and solve. 4 minus 83. I would like to rewrite it as addition. I see that there's 4 positives and 83 negatives. This should alert me that my answer is going to be negative. All right, I can, in my mind, make 4 zero pairs, and I'll have 79 negatives left over. Remember, we can also just do your traditional algorithm for subtraction, and then you know the answer is the absolute value of 79, or 79 plus or minus, and then you know that it's negative because there's more negatives, so the answer would be negative. Yeah. 62 plus 208. Again, we're just adding 270. It was almost a trick question because it was so easy. Now, this problem, honestly, I would rewrite it. I don't, when I solve this problem, it makes it so much easier. Sorry, that's plus -15 plus 4. So now I see that as 73 plus 4, because I can change the order now using the commutative property, plus -45 plus -15. Well, that's 60 negatives and 77 positives plus 60 negatives, which is positive 17. 1 minus 12, 1 plus -12 is -11. All right. Standard 3, multiply or divide. 4 times -3, 4 groups of 3 negatives, right? Which is -12. 4 times 3 is 12. A positive times a negative is a negative. Removing 2 groups of 4 negatives leaves me with positive 8. 2 times 4 is 8. A negative times a negative is a positive. -4 times -3 times -2. Well, I'm going to do associative property here. -4 times -3 is removing 4 groups of 3 negatives. Or 4 times 3 is 12. Negative times negative is positive. So I have positive 12 times -2. 12 groups of 2 negatives is -24. All right. Whenever there is an odd number of negatives, in this case there's 3. There's 1, 2, 3. And we are multiplying or dividing, the answer is going to be negative. Right? D, 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. Again, same rules. If there's one positive and one negative, the answer is going to be negative. In a division problem, 18 divided by 2 is 9. 24 divided by 3 is 8. A negative divided by a negative is positive, right? Negative 45 divided by 9. 45 divided by 9 is 5. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Right? And again, I think the best way to see this is we can go kind of backwards and multiply, and we'll see that it works. Negative 9 times negative 2 is positive 18. Positive 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Negative 5 times positive 9 is negative 45. All right, everybody's favorite, standard 4. Each step of simplifying an expression is shown. On the line provided, write the name of the property used. Well, the two properties are associative, which is grouping, and commutative, which is order. Notice the distributive property we have not yet discussed in class. At least one person wrote distributive property for an answer here, which gave me quite the chuckle. From step 1, I have my original expression. The difference in step 1 and step 2, the order is the same, right? 2, 3, 19, 2, 4, 2, 3, 19, 2, 4. The difference is in step 1, 3 plus 19 is grouped, and in step 2, 2 plus 3 is grouped. So that means the grouping is changed, which is the associative property. Step 3, we added 2 plus 3 to get 5. Going from step 3 to step 4, I have 2 plus 4, and then it changes to 4 plus 2. That is changing the order, or the commutative property. Step 5, the order in the grouping in step 4, is 4 plus 2. The grouping in step 5 is 19 plus 4. So we've changed the grouping again, which is the associative property. Step 6, we added 19 plus 4 to get 23. Between step 6 and step 7, it was 23 plus 2, and then 2 plus 23. We've changed the order again, which is the commutative property. And the final sum, not the word addition, also very funny. Yes, you are adding. But what is the sum? Well, 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 23 is 30. All right, which, as you can see, is much easier than doing this. Here we go. Standard 5. Divide. 1 1/3 divided by 1/6. First thing I'm going to do is convert this to an improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So we have 4/3 divided by 1/6. I'm going to use the common denominator method here. This is equal to 8/6. I use a giant 1 of 2 over 2 to convert this to 8/6 divided by 1/6. Once I have a common denominator, I can just ignore it. 8 divided by 1 is 8. For B, 6.6 divided by 0.24. I'm going to write it as a fraction. And then I'm going to multiply it by a giant 1 of 100 over 100, which equals 660 divided by 24. Right? And then we can do the long division. Put my decimal up. 24 goes into 6 0 times. 24 goes into 66 twice. 2 times 24 is 48, with a remainder of 18. Bring the 0 down. 24 goes in 187 times. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 2 is 14, so 16. Remainder is 12. Bringing this 0 down because we're not done. And now 24 goes in 125 times. 5 times 24 is 120. My remainder is 0, so my decimal terminates. 27.5. A lot of people got these numbers, but the decimal was wrong. Well, if you're going to do long division, you have to be very organized, right? Don't put, a lot of people put the 2 over this first 6. 24 doesn't go into 6 twice, right? So just be you have to be super organized. Just real quick, if you just immediately wrote this 6.6 divided by 0.24, again, we learned we can just move the decimal. If I move this decimal twice, I'm going to move this decimal twice. And then just move that straight up. Put the decimal right there. Okay? And then we have the same division problem. All right. C, 5 1/3 divided by -9 6/10. Going to convert both to improper fractions. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16. So I have 16/3 divided by, we're going to ignore the negative for now. 10 times 9 is 90 plus 6 is 96. And then bring the negative back in. So it's -96 tenths. A lot of people lost this negative at some point. You can show the supergiant one or find a common denominator. I'm just going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second number. So I have 16/3 times, and it doesn't matter where this negative, it can stay with the 96, it's just this number is negative, right? So I have 16/3 times -10 96ths. I can do some, well, first I'll just multiply across. So I can have -160 over 288. That is an unsimplified answer, right? Alternatively, let me use a different color here. I can do some cross simplification. -10 over 96 can simplify to -5 over 48. And then 16 goes into 48 3 times. So 16 goes to 1 and 48 goes to 3. And now I have a much easier problem. I have 1 times -5, which is -5, and then 3 times 3, which is 9. And now I have my simplified answer. So both of those work. A lot of attention to detail problems on this test, so we gotta work on that. Review and be ready for the retest. If you're feeling a little bit down about yourself because maybe you didn't do so well, here's period 1's bright, shiny faces to cheer you up. Say hi, period 1. Hi, period 1. Look at them, so shy. Quinlan also wanted me to say that she did not score any points last night against Dartmouth.
0.
Neither did Nate. The announcement said she scored 2 points, but she didn't. Thank you for being honest.